All right, so let's dive right in. If you're new here, my name is Veronica. I'm a licensed counselor. I've taken the NCE and passed it, and this is the next part of my NCE playlist. It's a series where I'm going to be just going over some basic advice, information, and all the things that I wish someone would have told me before I taken the NCE. In the first video, I walk through what the NCE is, how to take it, what no one tells you about the signing up part, and all the pitfalls that people find themselves in. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, I would highly recommend that you go and do so you're not hit with any surprises. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about all the study materials that I used, how I used them, and what I think was the most crucial and helpful ones for me and my success in taking the NCE. So I'm not here to list every resource that is out there on the internet. I'm just here to say what worked for me and what I used. This exam is expensive, and I wanted to take it once and not twice, so I didn't mind spending a couple bucks here and there and investing in my studies so that I would feel prepared and I didn't have to take the test twice, because I'm not a really strong test taker. If you find that this video or playlist is helpful to you in your studies, please like, subscribe, and share. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Share it with someone that needs it, that can actually benefit from this as well. I hope that it's helpful to you, and let's get started. First things first, how I approach studying and why this matters. So I did not just blindly take a bunch of practice tests and read a book and hope for the best. My approach was very intentional. My goal was to understand the materials and then test myself. So not memorizing the answers and then chasing scores. The goal was to actually understand the material, know what I was looking at, know the key terms that were going to pop up on the test. So if you don't understand the content and you just jump straight right into the practice exams, you're going to fool yourself into thinking that you're prepared, and that's how people end up like walking in confidently and then walking out shocked. So everything that I'm going to be going over and listing in this video is all under that strategy of like learn the information, know it, and go and execute this test the best you can. All right, off to square one. Everyone and their mother had told me to buy the purple book. So I did. And you know what? Let's talk about it. The famous purple book that everyone keeps talking about, and that is the Encyclopedia of Counseling by Howard Rosenthal. And everyone tells you to buy it. Everyone swears by it. And here's my honest take on it. So I feel like if I walked in to take the NCE thinking that it was going to feel like the mock questions in this book, I would have been really upset and mistaken. I would have been shocked, and not in a good way. I really like certain aspects of the book, like there's obvious right answers and there's obvious wrong answers, and it's very clean. It's organized. It teaches you in like a story-like fashion, so it's got like a nice little flow to it. And it will help you jog your memory over some of the terms that you might not remember. Or if you haven't refreshed on that information, let's say you took an ethics class 2 semesters ago and you're rereading this book, I think that's a really great way to refresh the information. But this is not what the test feels like. Is it helpful? Absolutely. Does it help with memorization? Yes. But it does not feel like the real test. And it does help you recognize blatantly wrong answers. But in my opinion, for me and how I learned, it was not for me sufficient enough on its own. Mind you, I know a lot of other people that passed just from reading this book alone. And I just would not have been one of those people. So I also listened to his audio CDs while driving. And I'm gonna be honest, almost doze off a little bit there, so don't do that. The author is extremely knowledgeable, and the delivery of the information is done in a really solid way, and it's kind of soothing. Don't listen to it while driving, unless you're fully awake, because it's a lot of information, and it can put you to sleep. This was a piece of my prep, and while it did help me refresh on a lot of the concepts, I would not say it was the main thing that gave me most of my confidence. It was a good refresher. So borrow your friend's book or get it from your professor. I'll link everything in the description below. At some point, I'll add affiliate links and stuff, and that will help support the channel. So if you use the link, cool. If not, that's fine, whatever. Thanks for support anyway. Moving forward, from all of the resources and materials that I used, for me, the single best resource was the study guide for the National Counselor Examination, NCPCE, Counselor Preparation Comprehension Examination, written by Andrew Helwig. Man, that's a mouthful. But yeah, so I had the 9th edition. That version is the one that came out in 2020, and they're always updating it every few years, so there might even be a newer one out now. But yeah, for me, that book was so helpful, and if I had to recommend one thing, hands down, it would be that book. This book for me had everything that I needed. There was no fluff, there was no filler, it was just like straight meat and potatoes content. All the information you needed was just right there. It's basically a streamlined version of what actually shows up on the test. It has all the definitions, concepts, distinctions, just like literally everything written in one place. So it is super straightforward and in a way very clinical. But for me, I found it helpful because I took notes in the margins and it helped me memorize all the concepts and make connections. So it's just straight concepts and raw material. There's no storyboarding. So if you like that style of learning, this book isn't that. But even if you don't like the style of learning, it's still a great resource to help you revisit all of the key terms and information leading up to the test because everything was in one place. Since the version I showed you is a little bit older, and if you don't have the money, because it's who has money these days, and with college being so expensive the way it is, if you look hard enough, you can find it online for free. Wow, wonder where that came from. But yeah, you can look around, and I ended up getting a PDF version that I was able to install onto my computer. And what I would do is I would highlight sections of it and have the computer read it to me, because after just spending hours and hours and hours of looking at a page with small text, like my eyes were really hurting and I was getting like stress migraines. So if you can memorize this entire book, you're in very, very good shape. This was my foundation and it helped me a lot. Next thing that was super helpful was Pocket Prep. They have an NCE specific study prep module that you can get on your phone, and this was one of my favorite tools to use. Basically, it's an app that you can download on your phone, and it gives you like mock questions. You get 10 questions, and you just multiple choice go through and you pick what's right, and you kind of quiz yourself on the knowledge, so to speak. It's really convenient, like you can do it randomly throughout your day because it's just you pull out your phone and you can hop on when you have an extra 5 minutes here and there. Yes, there is a free version. That is what I used to start. But I eventually ended up opting to do the pay version, which I think was like $10 a month. And it was way better because then you can go back through the questions and you can take it as many times as you want and stuff like that. It was just really a better flow of studying for me. You can definitely do it with the free version. I used it daily and kind of casually. So I did it between classes, random free times that I had throughout the day, when I didn't have the energy to formally sit down and study, but I had 5 minutes here and there. I even used it when I was on the toilet and when I was bored instead of doom scrolling on my phone before bed. So this was solid. If you wanted extra support, it's really great. For me, the way that I used it was I wasn't just answering questions and moving on. If there was any term that showed up in the answer or even the choices, even the wrong answers, if there was anything I didn't recognize, that I would pause, take a screenshot, and look up, because that is how you expand your knowledge base. If you're just focusing on hunting for the right answers, you're going to miss out on learning and getting familiar with all the wrong terms and the reason as to why those are the wrong answers. So that helps you a lot, not just get familiar with repetition and reinforcement, but also understand the course material itself. So with any testing tool, if you only remember the right answers, you're going to remember that format because it's like the same test over and over again. And you're going to trick yourself into being like, oh, I got an 80%. Oh, I got a 90%. I must be ready to take the test. And really, you're just your brain memorizing the structure of the mock test and getting familiar and knowing which one was the right answer. So don't fool yourself into thinking you're ready if you're not. There are a few other things that you can do to test yourself as well, and I'll get into that. But that was just something that I think is important to share if you're using this app. If you're looking for something that is free, that is similar to this, to study like maybe flashcards, you can look up on Quizlet. That's a free one that's on Quizlet, but there's so many different ones that are out there that it's kind of hard, and it's a lot to sort through and find one that you like. Moving forward, Dr. Pam's videos on YouTube, they are fantastic. So if you're an audio learner like me and listening helps things stick faster than reading, she really breaks down concepts clearly, and I use her videos as reinforcement. So she wasn't my main study source because I discovered her videos like 2 weeks before I was supposed to take the test, but she was something that I used to help solidify the terms and rephrase the concepts in a different way. So if you're a visual learner, great, you can read a book. If you're a kinetic learner, go and join a study group. Everyone's different, and don't force yourself to study in a way that doesn't work for you. The next thing that I felt like was super helpful for me was test.com, specifically their NCE practice exams. So I saved this for last, later in the prep on purpose, because this is not something that you're going to want to use to learn the content. This is what you would take if you wanted to simulate what the test would feel like on the day. I really liked it because of the way it was structured. The way that the questions are worded is very helpful because it's very clunky, it's awkward, it's slightly irritating, and that is exactly why I used it, because the NCE was, the way that it's structured is very similar to that because it's very clunky. So it helped me get used to the awkward wording, practicing with a timer and a clock, and what it feels like to answer questions under pressure. And that was worth the money for me because the test actually simulates what it feels like on game day. And it's the closest thing that I came across that you could use, and it feels like the computer style of it. So if you're like, I'm really stressed and I want something to help me know what it feels like and kind of give the familiarity of the test, that was a very helpful thing to use. So ultimately how I rank these, if I had to do a ranking order, it would be the study guide for the National Counselor's Examination and CPCE by Andrew Helwig, and then I guess I would say Pocket Prep, and then it would be Dr. Pam's videos, and then it would be the Purple Book, and then it would be testing.com. As a therapist, you're going to eventually have to buy the DSM, depending on whatever version is out. Get the newest one so that you're up to date. This is just one of the older ones as an example, but you're going to want that for your clinical diagnoses in the future, not necessarily just for the test, but also for when you're working. If money is of a concern, a lot of these resources, if you look hard enough on Google, you can find, or at least something equivalent for free. Pocket Prep has a free version. Dr. Pam's videos are for free. I'm sure you can borrow a Purple Book from somebody since everyone has one. Even though that test.com website does cost money, I'm sure you could find something online that will give you like a mock test for free. Sometimes your university might even have older mock tests that they could give you that's similar or comparable to the NCE, so that can be a helpful resource. Quizlet is always available. If you wanted to buy some of these materials so that you have them, you can look up eBay, you can ask a friend. So don't feel like you have to spend a bunch of money and break the bank to prep for all this. If you did want to spend a lot of money, there are different programs and study groups that you can buy your way into. But once again, it costs money. So there's different ways of approaching it. I didn't have the financial backing to do some more of the expensive stuff. This was just my prep on a budget. I tried to do it as financially frugal as possible. So lasting thoughts. There are a lot of ways to pass this exam, and some people can read the Purple Book and be fine, and that's great for them. I struggle a lot with tests, so I'm glad I did the route that I did. And I think that a lot of people fail this test for a couple different reasons, like sometimes they think it's going to be super easy and similar to the mock tests that you might find in your Purple Book. Maybe it was like that years ago. It's definitely not like that now. People have anxiety and or this conception that they're weak test takers like me, so they don't know how to approach studying for something like this, and that can be overwhelming. The poor studying prep really can do a number on somebody if they're not preparing for it in advance. For me, one of the biggest things that I think people are caught off guard about is that the NCE words the questions in a way that's really clunky. It's like, here's your question, and out of the 4 possible answers, one of them you can see is wrong, but then there's like 2 that you come down to where they're both kind of right, but you have to pick the one that's more right, which is annoying, because even though you can justify both of these options in your mind, and you got to pick the one that the test wants you to pick. So even though you're stuck with 2 options that, like, you could argue either way, both of these choices, you have to pick the one that is most right, clinically speaking, and also, like, according to the book. So yeah, if you're not ready for that and you're not mentally ready to pick apart the question, then it can be a learning curve. And then you're sitting there looking at the timer and it's really stressful. So that's why it's so important to just kind of have a general idea before going in on what to expect, and some of the best studying materials that you can use to give yourself the greatest chances of doing well. All right, so that's it for this video. In the next one, I'm going to be going over and like kind of walking you through what to do on your test day, how to pace yourself, use probability to your advantage, and some things that I do differently when approaching tests that I think would be helpful to you when approaching this test. So yeah, if this video at all helped you, please remember to like, subscribe, share, save, do all that good stuff. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so if you press that button, I would be forever grateful. I hope this video helps. Best of luck with your studies, and I'll see you in my next video.